Hello, everyone. Mike Grabham here again today. Hey, we have a super special guest today, John Rampton, helping founders be smarter. As you know, my name is Mike Grabham. I help people, make sure they get their startup started and get it moving forward, and try to reduce the aggravation and the mistakes that happen along the way. So I do these every Tuesdays and Thursdays, around noon every Tuesday and Thursday. So love to see you around. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what's going on. Hey, the question of the day is culture, what is the hardest thing to do in your company to promote culture? Just give me a one-liner in the comments if you think it's important. So that's all. So John, thank you for being here.
Hey, happy to be here.
Yeah, you're awesome for taking some time away. And so why don't you tell the audience just, what you're working on? I know you started Do several years ago, probably 4 years ago, and Calendar just recently. So give us kind of the update over those last two startups you've launched.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always trying things much similar to everybody watching this. Hopefully, at least, if not, you're in the wrong place. This is not 70s jam. But I'm an entrepreneur just like you guys. I like trying different things. I have projects. I start projects. I buy projects. I sell projects. I crash projects. Anything and everything. I've had some success in my life. I've had my share of epic failures. I am most recently the founder and CEO of a company called Calendar. It's calendar.com, how you normally spell it, and we reimagine the whole calendar experience, everything you do with your calendar, how it works, etc. So we just saw a need that our calendars haven't changed over the past couple of years. Actually, like 10 plus years, our calendars have done nothing yet. We have these little things in our pocket 24/7 dictating, literally notifications every 2 seconds, and our calendar hasn't changed. So we changed that. Formerly, I was the CEO of a company called Do. We were a payments company, DUE.com. Payments, we're helping businesses processing billions of dollars in payments. And prior to that, I was at a company called Organize, which we sold. We were an e-commerce store that miserably failed. And I was the guy in the room that, laid off 78 people in one day and said, hey, we're going under. So, I've had my share of successes. I've had my share of failures. And today we're going to be talking about a lot of those, and how you can avoid some of them and how you can grow. So.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I mean, all of us experience the failures, and some of us get lucky enough to do some successes as well. So, it always helps to hear from people that have done the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So talk to us. Now you produce a bunch of content and great content, I might add. So thanks for that. But tell me, what do you think it means, before they get kind of the first round of funding, how important is content in your eyes for that startup?
Yeah. So I love content, you guys, and I'm going to push you on content as much as I can. But content for me is my unfair competitive advantage. Whatever you are in your startup and whatever you have, you need to have an unfair competitive advantage. If you're starting a company just because you have an idea, that's great, but you need to have a competitive advantage where people don't have. So content is one of mine. So when I started my payments company, Do, I saw that there's a million different payments companies out there. And they're doing content, they're doing online, but they're really not that great at it. Nobody's as passionate about it. Nobody can get the links that I can. Nobody can produce the amounts of content that I can and get our search engine rankings higher or as fast as I can. So that was my super competitive advantage over all my competitors. Like, my stuff ranks above PayPal's, my stuff ranks above Chase Bank's, my stuff ranks above Stripe's, it ranks above everybody's. And that's my competitive advantage. So I went into it knowing that that's my competitive advantage. And then I found somebody who could build a system out there to help with the payments, right?
Yeah.
So our product is just okay. Our competitors' products are far greater. and much better than our product, but we're a lot better at marketing and producing content. So we're actually able to drive users into our product. And then over time, our product got better because we listened to our users.
Sure.
We made our product better and better and better. So if you're jumping into something saying, oh, I just want to do content marketing, or I just want to have the best product, or I just want to do this or do that or that, make sure it's an unfair competitive advantage, that nobody's better at that single category than you, and then hire or find somebody who's good at other things in the business so that you can team up to make the best product possible.
Yeah, I mean that's the the key there is right is one of the things I like what you just said was the fact that you push the product out, you knew you were getting customers, but then you listened to the customers and built a better product. Like you knew your product wasn't perfect when you started, and it wasn't like better than everyone else's. But
frankly, it still isn't. It still isn't perfect. It still isn't the most amazing thing out there. But we do have that unfair thing where we're able to produce and attract the right amount of people in the right ways and gain their trust. If you gain a person's trust, they will purchase anything you put in front of them. If you don't have a person's trust, they won't. So think of your customer. If you can gain that trust, which we do through our content, we produce these amazing guides, these amazing pieces of content where we garner a person's trust, and they come to us and they're willing to work with an inferior product because they trust you and they know you'll get better over time. I mean, think of all the products that you use. Are there better products out there?
Absolutely.
Probably, absolutely, right? But why do you use those products? It's because you know them, you love them, and you trust their brand. There's probably better out there at every product you use, whether it be from your North Face jacket or to your iPhone, to water bottle, to the chair you sit in, to the bed you sleep in. There is always better products out there. But you've come to love this stupid iPhone, even though you know that this phone has a better camera, and this one has a better processor, and this has a better this, and all around there are better phones than that. But you've come to love and trust this brand. So I feel it's very similar in our world. We've gained that trust of our users, and it's helped us build a business.
Yeah. Like if you could say one thing to focus on in your kind of the early days, no matter kind of whatever your product is probably like, can you get your customers to trust what you're working on, right? Can you?
Correct. Yep.
If that happens, then your brand gets so much more valuable. So what can you share with us about how you've made or some of the kind of, I call them kind of one-off deals you've made, strategic partnerships, if you want to call them that, joint ventures? What are some of the things that you've done to kind of make those things happen? And are you always kind of on the lookout for those? You like, how does that work in your world?
Yeah. So in the early days of both companies, both Calendar and Do and Organize, the one that failed, since we had those unfair competitive advantages, most of our competition do it. So we went to our competition. We said, hey, we're a lot better at this. Let's do some co-marketing. And that was like for Do, one of our big wins in the very beginning was we partnered with Intuit, with QuickBooks, who is literally a direct competitor of our company. They do invoicing, we do invoicing, one-for-one comparison. They're better at it in every single way but content. They came to us, we reached out to them and we said, hey, we're better at this. We can get more distribution. It's well worth it to work with us. And they were like, okay, let's do a trial. They did a trial and it worked out very, very well in their aspect. So I'm sure it drove them customers, but to us, it drove a lot of customers. And then they said, hey, let's do a big push. So we did a big push with them. Well, that big push almost drove 12,000 customers to us. Now, did we give up customers promoting their brand? Yes, we did. But did we get customers? Oh my word, we got a lot of customers, and some of those customers are still with us and still paying users now 4 years down the road.
Yeah, and you get that brand affinity too, right? That because you're working with such a large brand, right? Like,
correct.
That's a very big brand, and now this little company is working with. So this little company now is they must be good. They must be bigger than we think because they're working with Intuit, right?
Correct. Yeah. And then we leverage that to work with other competitors. And we actually don't refer to people as competitors. We say frenemies, because everybody can be a friend to me. They can be an enemy, but they can be a friend. And if we work with every single one of them, we'll be able to grow above all of them because we're working and getting links from every single one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know the SEO world so well, and how that all works, with content, that it's just, you just keep playing to your strength, right? Which is
correct.
awesome.
Yeah. And again, it's going back to that unfair competitive advantage and leveraging that over and over and over and over and over until the end of the earth.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. How do you find your people? Like, how do you find great people? Do you ever hire your friends? Do you ever hire your family? I mean, like, how are you doing that?
Typically, like the same birds of a feather flock together. If you can find one really amazing person, typically they have friends or people they've worked with in the past. And that's genuinely how I found my best people, is through referrals. Absolutely every person that I've hired I've worked with in the past, or somebody I work with has worked with them in the past in some way, shape, or form. Whether that be family, friends, whatever. I would say, if family, there are complications with that, but there's
Sure.
also added trust with that. So it could be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. I've had it be both. Friends, it's the exact same thing. It can be the best thing in the whole world because you know how each other works, but you also know how each other works. So it can be the worst thing in the entire world. When I do hiring, I like having one person weed through all the resumes, kind of a lower end person in the company, kind of weed out the top. Next, I like getting it down to like 10 or 15 candidates, have me or somebody other C-level interview every single one of them in a quick form, like 15 minute, 15 minute, 15 minutes. So it's like a 2-hour block. And then the last hiring process, I always make sure you could even buffer that and have somebody on a team interview them, and then 6 or 7 people go to you. But I always make sure the last people to interview is a team interview process. The actual team that they're working with, anywhere from the intern to the other, everybody has equal vote, and they vote on who they hire. I like doing that form when hiring an external person, because if it doesn't work out, it's not your fault. It's their fault as a team.
Yeah.
And they're hiring them as a team and agreeing upon them as a team. So they're more likely to work out and work through differences, because there's nobody to blame saying, I didn't like that person. It's the teams.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't
find that a team can weed through things a lot faster than an individual.
Yeah, and you get that diversification, right, of different viewpoints, looking at the same thing. Or you and I may interview the same person and literally see different things, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, you really need that diversification. Hey, how did you, when you started Do and Calendar, how did you kind of test the idea, and like, when did you know that it had like, oh, this is a really good idea? Like, how did you kind of figure that out in those early days?
Yeah. So with Do, basically, I had this agency that I was working on, and we had all these people that were invoicing us, and they came from 100 different sources, and all of them would it came to one point where we had I think we had over 100 different types or companies of invoices to be paid in different ways. We had at the time around 200 or 300 contractors. So it was just really annoying to get all these different invoices and pay in all these ways. So we just went and we're like, you know what? We're going to pay on this day and this day, and you'll invoice us through our system. And that's the only way we're going to pay. And it pissed a bunch of people off. When people want to be paid, they'll typically conform to what you want.
Yeah.
So everybody started invoicing us through our own product. And then they started using it with their other clients, because they were like, hey, we know these guys, we trust these guys, and oh, this system actually works, and they're giving it to us for free. So then they started using it, and then it started just compounding, and more people started using it, more people, to the point where one day we were looking at it and we had like 23,000 active customers, all free customers.
Sure.
But we had 22,000 active customers sending out I mean, tens of millions of dollars on a monthly basis in invoices that were being paid.
Yeah.
And we just put it on this janky site, right? But we're like, hey, this actually could be a product. Like, so we called up a bunch of the customers and we said, hey, would you be willing to pay for this? And our top users were like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
So, they were willing to pay for it. So we're like, hey, we're going to give it to you for free. We're going to try this out, keep it the same. But we're going to invest in this product. So we went and bought a domain. We went and bought do.com before we were like invoice home or invoice yard or invoice something.
Yeah. How did you find do? That's a pretty nice.
Yeah, it wasn't. So I like domaining. I like buying domains, looking at domains, and I'm always looking on a site called Flippa, FLIPPA.com. It's a great place to find domains. There's also Cedo, a couple other ones, but Flippa is a good place where you can find pretty good domains every now and then for sale or businesses for sale. Well, we saw do.com on there, and it was in an auction, and the person was like, hey, I just want to sell it. Like, let's do it. I ended up purchasing it, which it wasn't cheap. It was expensive. We paid $130,000 for it. So we had to have that money. So obviously we're making money in other places, but we bought that domain. But again, we were kind of already making money on the invoicing. So we knew that, hey, even if we finance this with a bank, we could pay it off down the road.
Yeah.
But we purchased that, we put it on there, and then the rest is history. It just started growing and growing. And the new domain brought a lot of instant credibility to our business. All of a sudden it went from being, like this random invoicing site to, it's a 3-letter .com domain. It must have been around for years. And it started really growing from there.
And then when you're, I'm just checking the comments here, making sure we're not missing anything. And then, so when you, when did you just close the agency, I'm assuming, or just obviously stop spending time on that and transferred all your energy over to do, right?
I mean, I didn't at the time. I still kept the agency. Okay. I still kept it going. And, at the time it was paying the bills. And, we decided as an agency to, hire a couple developers and hire a full-time CTO, and then hire a couple developers underneath them and, grow this. And then we invested in the growth. So every dollar we got went straight back into the company. It wasn't like we were making money. And it was probably about a year after that we actually, it was more of like jumping on board with that.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I just jumped in day one and was like, hey, let's go. It was like, hey, let's see how this goes. Let's start building it out. Let's build the best product possible. And when it can sustain me, that's when I'll jump.
Yeah, exactly. And the for a calendar, was it a similar? What was the aha moment? Like, wow, this is something that has to be done, right?
Yeah. So calendar was one of those things where I use some competing products all the time, and they're just not quite what I want. And I use this project, this calendar app, and this calendar app, and then this calendar app, and I just wasn't happy with any of them. And I said, hey, there's no real calendar app that does what I want. So then I went out to my 10 really good friends, and I'm like, hey, am I crazy? And they're like, oh yeah, we're using this one. We're paying for this. We're paying for this. We're paying for this. And none of them were really happy. So then I was like, all right, I want each one of you to introduce me to 15 people that I can interview and see what their thoughts are, what their problems are, what their concerns are. And we actually ended up interviewing 120, 130 different people about their calendar, how they use it, are they happy? And it was like a 95, 96% were not happy.
So
and that's with all the amazing tools out there, and a lot of which I used and still use. And I just wasn't that happy with it. So that's when we're like, hey, let's go invest in this. Let's go start building it out. So we did. We started building it, and that's when calendar.com came up. And I met the owner of calendar.com, and we worked out a deal to sell it. And so we moved it on to that. Again, I'm a domainer, so
You love those
I do
domains,
that.
man.
I still worked on Do, still was doing that, still was pulling my salary, still was, surviving by that.
Yeah,
And that's how we started.
that's awesome. I mean, that's the way to do it, right? Don't do it till it's paying for itself, or
Yeah, and we bootstrapped like every company I've been a part of. We bootstrapped. So I'm not pulling in venture capital money. I'm not taking money from this person or that person. It's like, this is how we built this company.
Yeah, that's great. So, hey, just everyone, we're here with John Rampton. Obviously, he's sharing some of his stories and some of the expertise he's learned, the good and the bad, over the past 10, 12, 15 years. So give me a thumbs up if you have first time LinkedIn Live person. Leave any questions in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them on the fly if you have anything. And the question for the day, as you can see on the screen, is what is the hardest part of building culture? So, if you have think something really hard, leave it in the comments, and we'll talk about it. So we'll continue forward. Hey, John, what are the top 5 tools that you use to kind of run your business, your life? What are the kind of the top 5 tools you're like, man, if I didn't have these 5 tools, I'd be in a world of hurt. Like, what are your favorite 5 tools?
Yeah, probably number 1 is Slack.
Yeah.
I use Slack a lot, or a messaging service. There's a lot of them out there, Slack competitors and stuff like that. We use Slack as a company religiously. It's probably 95, 98% of all of our communication. Though we have email addresses, majority of things are not done through email unless they have external sources with them. So definitely Slack. Gmail's the next one. We use G Suite for our email communication. We use Uber Conference. Uber Conference is a big one. They provide us with a phone number, and them and Zoom, very, very equal on those two. We probably about 50-50 use those. Tools like Zoom, you can record, you can do things. It's easy. Almost everybody in any country can use it. The latency issue and the video quality is amazing. So,
yeah, I'm a big fan of Zoom. I'm a big fan of Zoom.
Zoom is a good one. Since I'm in the content world, we use Grammarly. It checks our grammar. It's a very amazing. I even use it on emails. And then BuzzSumo is another big product.
Sure. Yeah, because for content. Yeah,
we do content. So that helps us find titles that work very, very well. So if you're blogging and you're looking for interesting titles, typically I'll Google like motivation, and I'll say, hey, over the past 5 years, what's the most influential motivational posts out there? And it will give me in order which is the most motivational. And then I'll rewrite the headline to be something that is relatable to my company, or I'll rewrite it because if it does well, it should do well. I'll teach you guys a little bit about my content strategy, because we get millions of page views from content.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about content, if I spend an hour on content, 30 minutes of the hour is spent just on the title. So if I'm spending 60 minutes on a blog post, 30 minutes of it will be the title, 20 minutes of it will be the promotion, and 10 minutes will be the writing. If that explains kind of my time. So I think so much more about, because if nobody clicks on a title, nobody's going to go to your post.
Yeah.
And if nobody sees it, nobody's going to read on it. So I have to get eyeballs on those things. And usually content, as long as I have something relatively good, people are going to enjoy it, read it, and put it out there, and it's going to gain trust. But it doesn't matter if you have the most amazing piece in the entire world. So many people spend hours and hours and hours writing blog posts, and it does nothing for them.
Yeah,
so
it's a waste of time, right?
60 minutes, 30 minutes is spent on the title, 20 minutes on the promotion, and 10 minutes on actual writing.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. That the title is just so important, man.
Yeah. No.
No one goes there. It's no reason. Don't write it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, so what's in your opinion, what's the most important KPI or metric that you track? Like for a SaaS business, first, I'm talking about SaaS businesses. Like, what's the most important KPI for you or key metric?
Yeah, for me, it is ultimately profit.
How easy is that?
Number one metric in any of my companies, profit.
Yeah.
You could be bringing in tons of revenue, but if it's not profitable, if you don't make money, eventually your company will not be around. It doesn't matter if you raise billions of dollars like Uber. Eventually, the wells will run dry.
Yes.
To Joe's plumbing shop, if you're spending $3,000 on a lead and the lead's only bringing 2,500 in, you can only do so many of those before you're like, hey, this isn't going to make sense.
Yeah.
So for me, it is profit. Next would be revenue. And then next after that would be growth, overall growth. I like seeing upward trends. I don't like the J curve. A lot of these startups really go for J curves. I hate J curves because as fast as J curves go up, they go down. And I see so many startups go whoop, whoop, whoop. And all it is venture capital, venture capital, venture capital.
Yeah.
I don't go for that. I like nice, steady inclines. That's an incline. Yeah, no, that's an incline to you guys. So I like numbers that are improving. If they're like 3 to 5% month over month, that's amazing growth. I mean, we would all love 100% growth every year over year. And that's what venture capitalists want. And that's unicorns. So stop chasing unicorns, become a unicorn, optimize yourself to become a unicorn. But the average unicorn is taking 8 years to become a unicorn. So just keep that in mind. Like, it doesn't start day one. It starts day 6,000.
Sure. Yeah.
Or it starts day 2,000. Like, it doesn't start day one. But as long as you're having an upward trend, especially in revenue, in profit, in growth, you're on the right track.
Yeah. No, you're totally on, John. Totally right. What three things have you? What three things have been the best for your startups for growth, whether they were planned or not planned? Like, what three things? Now, I know content obviously is always going to be key for you, but like, what other things have you learned that were moved the needle that were maybe even unplanned? Like, they just happened. You didn't even know they were going to happen. Like, what one or two things can you say? Hey, these are things that really helped us grow in my experience.
Yeah, partnerships has been a huge one. Getting partnerships with the right companies, building those has been literally crucial to my business. So building those, and sometimes those aren't even like me building; those are me hiring someone. I, for example, with my payments company, I hired somebody as a contractor, just kind of an outsourced salesperson, and they brought on like 3 amazingly huge clients. And that, like, to me is like, I mean, huge.
Yeah.
So,
it's like you can't put like a dollar number on that, right? It's just.
I mean, we definitely put dollar numbers on that one, but most of the time, partnerships, if you can get those, they're amazing. The next would be channel partners. Now, partnerships and channel partners, those might be very similar. I think of them different. I think of a channel partner as a reseller of your product, willing enough to integrate your product into their product and resell it. Yeah. So channel partners are amazing because they already have an audience that's similar to yours and can integrate you into their channel. Think of like a Salesforce. Salesforce, the majority of their revenue is from their channel partners. They're building it, and then guess what happens? Those channel partners, once they get to a specific amount, Salesforce just acquires them.
Yeah.
And then integrates them fully, and that's part of their Salesforce suite. But I would say, I mean, all these amazing companies or amazing features that Salesforce were their channel partners, and they weren't part of their original product, but they built into it, they invested, and they grew together.
Yeah, because they own the customer relationship, right? And so you're you're partnering with them because they own it, right?
Correct.
And it's okay with you if they keep the ownership, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you just want users.
I mean, ultimately, you want to keep the users, and you want the users to be yourself. In the beginning part of a business, it's a double-edged sword, because the more you give them, the more control they have. They could be building out the exact same product and cut you out tomorrow because it is their customer. Just be aware of that. Know that it's a double-edged sword, that it swings both ways, but it can be phenomenal to your growth in the long term.
Yeah.
Know that they will also have you in a vice, saying what you can and can't do, because if they control a large portion of your, for example, at Do, one of our largest partners is a huge payment processor, and we both have each other in these vice grips that we can't get out of because we rely so much on each other.
Yeah.
So hurts the relationship, but at the same time, that relationship made us who we are today.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And what are some of your like, do you have any favorite CEOs in today's world? And they don't have to be like big name CEOs. Like, do you have some favorites you just think are doing a really, great job? Like, you have a couple or one or two that you like, I like this guy, I like this girl. Is there anyone special?
I have loved some of the stuff Meg Whitman has done in the past.
Yeah.
Although she's not a CEO, I really like some of the stuff Sheryl Sandberg. Technically, she's a CEO of several different things, but Sheryl Sandberg has been somebody amazing that I've looked up to for a very long time on how she deals with certain situations. They deal with situations in a very different way. Although everybody hates and rags on Mark Zuckerberg, he's built this thriving thing, the Jeff Bezos of the world. I look up to these guys, even though they're horrible in some ways, they're amazing in other ways, and I like looking up to them.
Yeah.
So I love Elon Musk, but I don't like him from the, sweat driving people working the 30-hour days, even though there's not even 30 hours in a day. But I like the mentality that they have, each one of these people have, for driving innovation forward and truly inspiring people enough to do that.
Yeah.
And it's super amazing when you're like Elon Musk, like, everybody talks horribly about him and, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. And people who leave the company are these huge outcries, like, oh, he's sweat labor, he's doing this. You look at internal satisfaction with the company, and it's in the 90%.
Yeah, it's still high.
It's still high. And then you look at Amazon, and it's what does the average Amazon person work? They're working 65-hour weeks, the average. Yet he's only paying them for 40-hour weeks. And employee satisfaction is astronomical in some of these companies. Now, not necessarily in, I would say excluding some of the factories, because it's a different worker than I'm thinking of. Not trying to alienate those people or alienate that or say anything about myself, but people in higher up positions seem to love that. So, inspiring. It's also demotivating in some ways when you look at the other side, but
Yeah, audience, give us a thumbs up if you agree on some of that. There's some good comments there about no one's perfect, obviously.
Correct.
As we know, but there's some people that we really, really respect highly. Hey, so what two things could you tell John Rampton that he didn't know in year 2005?
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. Why'd you do that?
Things that I tell myself is to take a chance on myself sooner. I worked at a job for 2 or 3 years too many. I didn't take risks on myself. I should have really invested in myself. At the time, I was working at a job, and I was making great money, and I was saving great money, and I was working on my own side projects, and I was actually earning double outside of work than I was inside of work.
Wow. Yeah.
But it still took me a year of doing that for me to quit. Yeah. And when I quit, my boss was like, oh, I actually love your work and I still want you to do it. You just never need to come into the office again. And I was like, oh man, I should have done this like a year or two earlier. Now it could
Yeah.
have gone the other way, but it didn't. And I actually ended up, he was a client for 7 years.
Wow, that's very cool.
He needed the exact same salary
For 7 years.
for 7 years. So I would have taken a risk on myself. Now, it might be different in your situation. It is different in everybody's situation. I
Sure.
lucked out on that, but we make our own luck. And I wish I would have made my own luck a lot sooner, because I didn't take risks on myself like I really should have, especially when you're younger. Those that are watching this, hopefully, you're like 16, 18, 21 years old. Take a risk on yourself, even if you're older than that. Like, I didn't have a family. I could fall back on things. I had good friends and family that if it all went to crap, I could have moved in with them. I could have done this. Now I have a family. I have a wife. I have obligations. So it's a lot harder for me to take those risks now. But I'm still taking massive risks. I'm risking not everything, but I'm risking everything within my risk tolerance. And I've learned that. And you might be, hey, I don't know, maybe I should quit my job. Maybe I should do this. I would say if you have a nest egg of 6 months cash sitting there, start taking a lot more risks and a lot more investment in yourself, because you can do this.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and plus you just learn so much. You just think differently and learn so many more things when you make that step, take a step off the cliff, right? It's just
correct. Yep.
It's just amazing how quickly you learn things. Hey, I read some stuff last night. I was reading some stuff and about culture and the good and bad of culture. And one thing that I wanted to hear your comment on is employees and customers choose brands for their business practices as much as features and benefits. Do you think they choose it based on culture? Like, how important do you think that the employees are attracted to that company, to work for that company, and it's basing it on culture? Like, where is that in a scale of
I would say 10? Employees value culture a lot more than customers do.
Yep.
If customers valued culture, not one of us would own an iPhone. They're all sweat laborers. They're children that are putting these things together, earning $1 a day. But I still freaking own this, which says a little bit about the customer inside of us. Uber, all these sex scandals, this, but we're still riding in Ubers. We're still riding in these things. We're still, even like these water bottles, like, is this good for the environment? Absolutely not. Is it the worst thing in the whole world? Yes. Are we driving our Teslas down the road? Do we support Elon Musk because he's kind of a terrible person in some aspects, even though I look up to him in others?
Sure.
Do customers care about culture? Some of them do, but the majority of them do not. Now, employees do care about culture, and it's going to be money first. Anybody that says, "Oh, I care about culture," they're lying. Yeah. They care about money first, and then they care about culture deep down inside their heart. There may be a couple angels out there that really care about culture above money, and they're willing to take a lot of a pay cut. And there is a fine balance between money and that.
Sure.
Most people care about money. If you go into a job and the job's the best job in the entire world, and somebody offers you $10,000 a year, you're probably going to say no. But if it's the worst job in the entire world, but somebody offers you $1 million salary, I would say majority of us sadly would take that. Now, we're going to be miserable at it. We'll probably quit after a year. But how many of these not mortgage brokers, but like Wall Street guys just sit and get railed on in every single movie, and they're getting yelled at and screamed at. And they're, you look at like some of these companies like this person that we all look up to, this hedge fund billionaire, Ray Dalio, right?
Yeah.
Like the average person works at his company 13 months.
13 months.
13 months.
Wow.
The average.
Yeah.
But
they make a boatload of money, right? They make a boatload of money.
Yeah, but they're all making an average of probably around $400,000 to $500,000. So people are willing to give that up. So
Yeah.
with that in mind, culture is very, very important. We had a question a little bit earlier on how do you maintain a culture? A culture comes in shifts. It's going to be the first 5 people are going to define the culture of your company.
Absolutely.
They're going to absolutely define it. If in the next 10 people that you hire, you have one bad egg that does not meet the company culture and that person stays there longer than 6 months, it will damage your company and your company will not maintain that culture. But if you can hire and get it up to about 15 to 20 people and maintain that culture, I find that the company culture will maintain and stay very similar along the path. So the first 5 people, key to maintaining that culture. The next key is the 20 people. If you can get to that 15 to 20 person mark, your culture will remain the same or a little bit different. Every department is going to be a little bit different unless you get 2 or 3 people that are the polar opposites of that. I would highly recommend, even if they are the best fit for your company, if they're not fit for the culture, to not have them employed with you. Because for me, it's much more about people that fit with the culture and maintaining that culture and having good people rather than amazing people that do not fit in the culture at all.
Yeah, no, it has to be like you say that they can just, you can have one bad egg and just kill it, just absolutely kill a culture.
Right. Especially in those first 20 people.
Yeah. The first 5 to 20 people are so super critical. Those are like,
Correct.
You got to make sure those are the right ones.
But maintaining it's hard. You'll hit inflection points about 20 people. You'll see a little bit of a difference. At 35 people, you'll see difference. At 55 people, you'll hit difference. Once you hit it'll go 55 to about 120 people, then you'll hit a major inflection point. That's when nobody knows other people. The CEO stops knowing every person.
Yeah.
And that's when culture is so important because that is where those 20 people maintain this culture. That's why I really focus on that 20. It's not the first 5, it's the first 20. Yeah. First 5, instill it in the first 20. And those first 20, you're going to have different people. You're going to have to fire somebody or let somebody go that is not part of that culture in those first 20. But those first 20 are going to take you to the 110, 120 to 300 mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you totally nail it. That's absolutely true. Hey, give us thumbs up or clap your hands or whatever for any good comments out there, guys. John, is there one thing that you would say, super important in your managing, and I'm talking about like more the mental aspects of running a company, not so much like the blocking and tackling, but like, is there anything that you would give, a young John Rampton or a young Mike Grabham, like some advice to say, here's some things mentally you need to be kind of able to manage or here's some ways to help. I just read so much and kind of listen to people talking about how tough it is mentally. And it's usually a really big surprise for people. They just don't realize how much of a toll mentally it takes. What kind of advice could you give someone to, kind of help them through that process?
So two pieces of advice, not just one. First, be willing to delegate. Nobody at your business is going to do it better than you. Just know this. Any aspect of your business, it doesn't matter what it is. Nobody's going to do it up to your qualifications, up to your standards, up to anything that you do. You are the best. You are the man. You are the woman. You're the most amazing person at this company. Nobody will do it better than you. Just know that.
Yeah.
So every time, learn to let go just a little bit. Whether it be accounts receivable, there will be errors. Nobody will do it. Nobody cares like you do.
Yes.
So just know that. But be willing to delegate and put things on other people, and that will scale you to become the best you that you can be and to focus on what truly matters for the business, which is growth, which is this, which is that. Whatever you focus on, that's where the business needs to be.
Yeah.
Next, don't sweat the small stuff. There's little things. Don't let people are going to crucify you online. They're going to tear you apart in a review. They're going to write a 12,000 word article on why you are the biggest douchebag in the entire world. True story. 12,000 words, almost a little over 12,000. on why I'm the biggest idiot in the entire world.
Sure.
People are going to do that left and right. Customers are going to complain. People are going to do that. You're going to have problems at work. You're going to have to fire people. You're going to have to fire clients. You're going to have to become the person that you're meant to be for your business to succeed. Don't sweat the small stuff. One funny one that comes to mind is my team put together a blog post one time. And they sent it over to me, and I posted it on a very influential site. And in the article, it was 7 ways to do blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it was 1, 2, 3, and number 4 said, John, put in your own advice here.
And
I didn't read it. I just posted it.
Yeah.
It was on that publication. Now, this is a major, major, major publication that hundreds of millions of people, probably 50 million people read on a monthly basis. That was up on their number 1 post for 4 hours before anybody caught it. Stuff like this is going to happen, you guys. And my team was freaking out. So, like, legitimately, like, calling, texting. But I think I was at, like, my daughter's swim lesson.
Sure.
I wasn't answering. And then I was like, oh, my word, I had like 26 missed calls.
Yeah.
I remember picking up the phone and then being like, oh, my word, this is the worst thing in the whole world. And I was like, and they have it as a quote up on the wall. It says, oh, haha, that's funny. That's all I said. I didn't care. Like, I didn't let it get to me. That could have depressed me. I could have worried about, oh, my word, this publication's going to fire me. Oh, this publication's going to take it down. Oh, our clients are going to see that. Oh, I'm going to be embarrassed. Oh, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Learn to shrug things off. Not worry about it. You know, wipe that off the shoulder. Get past. Stupid stuff's going to happen every day, but you guys are better than that. And just don't let so much get to you. It's stressful enough being an entrepreneur. Stressful enough being, you know, a spouse. It's stressful enough being a dad, a mom, a friend. This. Stop letting the big things get to you. Like, let the small things go.
Yeah. No, you'll be so much. And I think, like, I personally have definitely, as I've gotten older, it's been easier for me to kind of just not sweat it, right? And I mean, I had a little bit of it when I was younger, but not near the level I have today, or even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? It's like,
yeah.
You're just like, so what? Like, worst thing can happen is, not much.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, John. You know, I don't want to take any more time of your day. You've been great. Thanks for just for being here, sharing all the stuff you've shared.
Thanks for watching, guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Again, anyone, thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, the clap hands, a heart, whatever you want to do down there. Remember that the question of the day is, what's the hardest part of keeping culture in your company? You know, until next Thursday, which is 2 days away, we're going to do another live stream. But everyone, thanks for watching. Take care. I'm Mike Grabham. We'll be out. We'll see you again in about 48 hours. Take care. Have an amazing day. Hey!